Hello, this is Nicholas Yock, a registered education and migration agent from Pathway to Oz. Today I'm going to discuss a question we are commonly asked. My visa is expiring in Australia. What are my other work visa options? In this video, I'm going to discuss some different temporary visas that have work rights. So for example, if you're on a graduate visa, a student visa, a working holiday visa, or really any other visa, and your visa is expiring in Australia, these options may be relevant to you. All right, so there are obviously a lot of different visas in Australia, so we're not going to discuss all of them. In this video, we're not going to discuss the different permanent general skilled migration visas, so we're not going to talk about the skilled independent, state nominated or regional nominated visas. We're also not going to talk about sort of partner visas or being added to your partner's visa. And finally, we're not going to talk about student visa options, which also have work rights. We're going to put the link to these different options below, and you can check it out there. And you can also feel free to contact with us if you do have any questions about these visas. In this video, I'm going to discuss the employer-sponsored visa, or the TSS visa, subclass 482, the COVID 408 temporary work visa, and the training 407 visa. So, the TSS visa, or the employer-sponsored visa, subclass 482, is probably the most common work visa in Australia. So the intention of this visa is for the employer to fill an employment need. However, it is very expensive and there is a lot of documentation required from the employer and from the applicant themselves. The visa is essentially set up so that the employer can fill a role that they can't fill with another Australian. So we've got a separate video which goes into it in detail, and you can find the link below. But essentially, to apply for a standard employer-sponsored visa, or the TSS visa subclass 482, it's a three-step process. You would need the company to apply to become a standard business sponsor, which is quite simple. They just need to provide evidence that the company is operating lawfully, etc. The second step would then be the nomination. So in this process, this is a lot more difficult. The company would need to nominate you for the position, advertise the position for 4 weeks in 3 different places, demonstrate that they did the labour market testing and they couldn't find another Australian to fill the role, demonstrate that they're paying you the Australian market salary. And then in the third step, you apply for the visa. So in this step, the main part of it is that you need to have the relevant qualification and 2 years of work experience in a relevant field. And at the required skill level. What else is important? Your occupation needs to be on at least the short-term skilled occupation list usually to apply for this. So just in regards to costs, to become a standard business sponsor, the government charges are $420. The nomination is $330. The government also charges a training levy, which would be a minimum of $1,200 per year. And the visa application charge is either $1,265 or $2,645. So it's quite an expensive visa, and the labour market testing, it's quite intense as well. But it could be an option, and if you think you might fall down that category, check out the other videos or give us a call. All right, so the next option I want to discuss is the training visa subclass 407. So this visa is not essentially a work visa. The visa is set up so the applicant can undertake structured training and enhance their skills in an occupation. That being said, in most circumstances, the applicant needs to be paid. The process of applying for a training visa, very similar to the employer-sponsored visa. So sponsorship, nomination, and visa application. I'm going to run through this very quickly, but once again, we have a separate video on it. So obviously for the training visa, the company needs to apply to become a standard business sponsor. They need to demonstrate that they're operating lawfully in Australia, provide documentation. So for the nomination step, because it is a training visa and the genuine intention of this has to be to enhance your skills, not to fill a work gap, the applicant would need to provide evidence of a structured training plan, which sort of demonstrates to immigration what they intend to learn and how they intend to enhance their abilities in that occupation. They also need to demonstrate, who else is going to be doing the training, or training you in the occupation. The third step of the visa is applying for the visa. So to be able to apply for this training visa, you need to show that you have been studying or working full-time for at least 12 months within the last 24 months in your occupation. So the cost for this visa, a lot cheaper. Sponsorship is only $420, nomination fee $170, and the visa application charge is only $310. So it is a lot cheaper and there's a lot less paperwork compared to an employer-sponsored visa. But please note, the genuine intention of the training visa must be, to enhance your skills, not to fill an employment gap for the employer. All right, so the last visa I want to discuss is the temporary work activity visa, the COVID 408 visa. So this visa was brought in by the government during the COVID pandemic. It is supposed to be a visa of last resort, but in certain circumstances, the visa holder can have work rights. Now, because it was brought in by immigration, during the COVID pandemic, and to ensure that, people aren't remaining unlawful in Australia and if they can't return home, it does have a sort of, set time frame. So we don't know, whenever COVID sort of passes or, flights or international travel begins to open, I would expect this visa to be phased out and no longer be a possibility. But, at the moment, COVID's still very much happening. And this visa is potentially an option. So the biggest thing about this visa, I think, is that it's absolutely free, so you don't pay any immigration charges. So to be able to apply for this visa, you must be in Australia, you must be unable to depart Australia, your visa must be either expiring within 28 days or have expired within 28 days. You must not be able to lodge another valid application, and you must have substantially complied with your last visa. So if you are looking for work rights in this visa, you would want to explain to immigration that you are working in a critical sector. Get letters from the employer stating that, hey, we really need to keep so and so on. It's very important to our business, which is in a critical sector. Now recently, immigration have kind of been allowing a lot more occupations than just the occupations on the critical sector list to receive work rights for this visa. You would apply through the immigration portal, and it's quite a simple process. And once again, the visa is free. So, I mean, if you really don't have any options, it could be good for you. Please note, there is no guarantee that the government will give you work rights on this visa. But if they do, you can only remain with the employer that you're with. Look, I hope you found this information somewhat helpful. As you know, there are plenty of different other visa options in Australia. These are just 3 examples, that might be relevant to you. If you would like to have a full review of your situation, feel free to contact Pathway to Oz. Thank you.